Indiana schools are doing innovative things to keep students on the path to high school graduation. Here's an example.
We are going to make Australian dot paintings.
Test scores and brain research show students who are immersed in the arts do better in their academic subjects. Those right brain, left brain connections are what Indiana Teacher of the Year Suzanne Witten tries to foster using what's called arts integration.
Oh, so where's Australia? On the other side of the...
Arts integration is an emerging trend. It links literacy, math, social studies, and science to what children are doing in art class. But that's not all.
We do critical inquiry as well, which is teaching kids to be able to read from a story from a visual art piece. And then problem solving is huge to see that kids can actually solve a problem with their artwork as well. What's high in the sky? The sun. So we'll put this.
Students in all
first.
grades benefit. Art lessons are aligned with the state's Common Core standards.
In math, we are learning about tessellations, and that's what we're doing in art class too. So it really helps to have it here and then learn it in math. And she always says, do your best and never give up. You know that that's for every subject.
Indiana is one of 47 states mandating arts education as part of a balanced curriculum. But beyond the academics, research underscores that the arts boost a child's concentration, motivation, and teamwork.
We're trying to emphasize that we're teaching the whole child, and that's more of my philosophy. We're not just teaching the academic, we're teaching the artistic, and we're bridging it together.
That's the power of art and a benefit of arts integration.
It takes all of us to ensure each child becomes an American graduate. To find out more, go to americangraduate.org. This video is produced in partnership with CIESC, a Central Indiana nonprofit supporting public education. Indiana schools are doing innovative things to keep students on the path to high school graduation. Here's an example.
Mission Control, this is the spacecraft. Stand by for a countdown beginning at T-minus
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Since 2004, missions have been blasting off here at Decatur Township's Challenger Learning Center.
It appears that our navigation team has located a new object in space.
After some 1,800 missions and nearly 40,000 students going through the astronaut simulation program, teachers have discovered one thing, that this hands-on learning opportunity can jettison classroom curriculum to new heights by boosting students' creativity when it comes to learning science and technology.
We do science experiments at school, and those are great, but that's teacher-directed. When you come here, it's student-directed, so they have to read the task cards, they have to decide what to do.
Nothing's outdated. It's always up to date with lessons that students get in the classroom.
Students prepare weeks in advance before entering Mission Control or the shuttle, but once on board, they admit there's nothing like the real thing.
Mission Control, this is the spacecraft. Our mission specialists are trained and ready to begin.
Mission Control, you have a thumbs up, you're go for separation.
Coming here is a lot better because it's fun and you actually get to interact and do things, actually touch and feel what it's like to be in an actual space station or a mission control room.
Uh-oh.
Challenger Center board member Rick Proctor, an Indianapolis banking executive, says the science and technology experienced by students through this program has never been more relevant.
It's not that the Challenger Learning Center is the ultimate fulfillment of what they receive, but that it starts as a seed here that's planted that ends up in a career later, not necessarily with NASA, but in a very fulfilling career in an area of STEM that started as a seed here.
It takes all of us to ensure each child becomes an American graduate. To find out more, go to americangraduate.org. This video is produced in partnership with CIESC, a Central Indiana nonprofit supporting public education. Indiana schools are doing innovative things to keep students on the path to high school graduation. Here's an example.
Medical and law schools have long used project-based learning because it prompts investigation, critical thinking, communication, and collaboration. Now those same qualities make project-based learning, or PBL, increasingly popular in K-12 education. The hallmarks are the same: Academic classes are interconnected, like this high school physics and transportation course.
Yes, you can glue those and you can glue that.
Teachers construct rigorous research and problem-based lessons.
They take the exact same physics test that they take in the other physics classes in the building. The difference is that they apply it more here. Our students tend to test a little higher. It's because of the application base, because with all the vehicles, they see it in motion as opposed to just doing the problems on a piece of paper.
They serve as guides and facilitators, ensuring that students develop autonomy, responsibility, and inquiry skills, as in this Top Gun project that weaves intermediate physics with transportation studies.
I really want to be an engineer one day. So being able to take this physics class and work with my hands is kind of making me better prepared.
PBL supporters say Katie and others are learning to collaborate and take the initiative, skills especially important in a world where globalization is the norm. Recent research finds there is also improved attendance, higher graduation rates, and fewer suspensions at Indiana's PBL schools. An Indianapolis business leader says that's partly why the workforce supports project-based learning.
It's context-based learning. It requires the students to go out to different resources and to engage their brain. They're not just fed information, they have to seek it out and put it together. In the workplace, you're not fed information. You have to seek it out and put it together. It seems to me that's a real world skill that is very important.
It takes all of us to ensure each child becomes an American graduate. To find out more, go to americangraduate.org. This video is produced in partnership with CIESC, a Central Indiana nonprofit supporting public education.
He was very excited from the get-go. I mean, he really had a lot of anticipation for what was going to happen from there.
Big Brothers Big Sisters helps children facing adversity through one-to-one mentoring relationships that are professionally supported and help change their lives for the better forever. Most of the kids we serve experience either single parent or single guardian homes. A third of them are impacted by the incarceration of a family member. 80% receive free or reduced lunch, so they're impacted by poverty. The youth we serve are facing challenges, but what they all do have is a parent who cares enough about them to enroll them in our program.
I can see Danye going very far in life. She's very caring. I have two wonderful boys. Danye gives me that outlet. Since I'm a girly girl myself, she gives me the opportunity to do those things that I can't do with my own kids. We've even learned stuff about each other sitting at McDonald's eating a Happy Meal. It's those little things, the conversations that we have when we learn different things about each other.
This type of mentoring is effective. It does help kids achieve academic success. It does help kids avoid risky behaviors. And it does help kids have higher aspirations, greater confidence, and better relationships with peers and family members.
She's like a real sister to me, because since I don't have no sister, she's my sister.
You're probably my best friend.
Wow, that's cool.
And you're pretty awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, I'm Sam Clement and welcome back to American Graduate Day on WFYI. I'm joined by three individuals who represent groups that are doing outstanding work with youth mentoring programs. Joining me are Elena Thompson, Corporate Relations Officer of Starfish Initiative, Darcy Palmer Schultz, CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Indiana, and Tony Williamson, Executive Director of St. Florian Center Incorporated. Thank you all for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Darcy, we'll start with you first. Big Brothers Big Sisters holds a special place in my heart. I've been a Big for 3 years now. Talk about the significance of the work that you do in having those youth mentors.
Sure. Well, at Big Brothers Big Sisters, we believe that every child has the potential to succeed, and we think it takes all of us to help make that possible. So we're really fortunate to partner with parents, schools, volunteers, and our corporate community to make sure that as many kids as possible have mentors in their lives that will help them achieve all that they're capable of.
And Elena, Starfish does similar work, but a little bit different. Just talk a little bit about Starfish and the initiative that you have there.
Yes, so Starfish Initiative, basically we work to help students achieve their aspirations, and we partner them with a mentor, and this mentor is with them from the time they are in their freshman year in high school through graduation. And it's just the little things that they do with them. They meet with them twice a month. It might be going to a museum or to a game or sitting down and filling out college scholarship applications. But these mentors are there to help them through the college process. And it's great. 100% of our students do graduate, and then they also move on to college. So we're really proud of that.
And Tony, I heard the story of how your organization was founded. It started with some firefighters. Talk about how it started and how it's grown since.
Yes, back in 1992, a couple firefighters, myself and another, as we responded on emergency runs, we saw all of these young people with just no hope and despair, and they were playing in areas where they shouldn't be playing in. Individuals were writing these young people off as Generation X. They will never achieve anything. So we came together to put together a program to inspire these young people to graduate from high school, for them to learn about respect and responsibility and set high goals for themselves. So we've grown the past little over 20 years now to expanding into reading programs, after school programs, summer camps, rites of passage programs, and each component teaches our young people about respect, responsibility, goal setting, time management, and so many of those values to help them succeed in life.
I'll pose this question to each of you, and I'll start with you, Elena. To have mentors that aren't necessarily teachers or parents, but more of a friend, someone they can talk to on an equal level, maybe not necessarily talking down to them, how important is that for a child just to feel comfortable and to feel like they can become themselves and grow?
It's huge. The mentors and the scholars, there has to be a sense of trust. They have to know that they can trust this person with whatever they share with them. And then it's nice to have an outlet outside of the home or the teacher in the classroom. The nice thing about our mentors is that they really work to build relationships with these students, and the students share things with them that they may not share with others. Also, many of the students that we reach out to, they don't have a parent that has been to college, and so it's all of our mentors are college graduates, and so it's these individuals that can help them. They've been there, they've done that, they've graduated, and help them through the process, whether it's helping them get internships or just doing college visits. Our mentors are there to support the scholars, and it's huge for them to work together.
And Darcy, what about for big brothers, big sisters?
As we all know, kids need people who believe in them to achieve everything they're capable of. And when it's someone who's a friend that they have a strong, trusting relationship with, who is also a role model, it means a lot more. So mentoring makes a big difference for kids, and believing in themselves and then seeking out all that they're capable of doing.
And Tony, I'll pose the question to you as well.
Oh, absolutely. It is so important for our young people to have mentors outside of the school, because again, it just gives them a different type of confidence that they're not really receiving in school. A lot of them are so withdrawn when they're in the classrooms. The mentors outside can help them to be successful in their mind. Like we teach them, you are a leader by believing that you're a leader, and our mentors help to push that message along with our young people.
Thank you all for coming today, and we need you at home to get involved as well. You can make a difference. Call the toll-free number and go to these websites to find out more. Become an American Graduate Champion and make a difference. Stay with us.
The Hawthorne Community Center has been serving the West Side neighborhoods of Indianapolis for over 85 years. The Hawthorne Center for Working Families, a branch of the community center, works towards stabilizing their neighbors financially and creating a successful path to independence.
3 core services of Center for Working Families are our employment services, our financial services, and our income supports. Helping people secure employment, secure better employment.
Amanda Warwick is one of many affected by the Hawthorne Center for Working Families. In less than a year, Amanda, an unemployed single mother, turned her life completely around.
I got pregnant at a very young age and had no one to take care of my son, so I had to drop out the last semester of my senior year.
I was living with my mother, and I was actually in the TANF program, which is the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, because I was not receiving child support and I had medical surgery and was unable to work at the time.
Amanda worked really hard so she would come here and do her internship, go home for a little bit, come back and come to GED class. All we did is offer services, and then she took them and ran with them and has, done a phenomenal job, and just like I said, made great strides in a short amount of time.
Today, Amanda supports her family with a full-time job in their own apartment. She received her GED this spring and is enrolled in Ivy Tech's Human Resources program to do for others what Hawthorne continues to do for her.
Hello, I'm Jill Dittmeyer, and welcome back to the studio of WFYI for American Graduate Day. Now, the video we just showed you highlights just a few of the Hawthorne Center's many community initiatives. Supporting students who may need help outside of the home, of course, is a very big job, and it takes a lot of people to do that. And here in studio, we have 3 champions of family wellness. Joining us this afternoon, Jim Grimm. He is the Director of Community Engagement at George Washington Community High School. Regina Marsh is the CEO of Forest Manor Multi-Service Center. And Caleb Sutton is the Director of Programs and Services at Hawthorne Community Center. When we just watched that wonderful piece and learned a little bit more about one of your students there at Hawthorne. The center's been around for 85 years, but I'm guessing the whole time you've been teaching the same skills, but just in different levels of degree to meet the needs that are out there. Have the needs really changed that much in all that time?
Well, I think that one of the most powerful things that we do at Hawthorne is we really focus on building skills in our clients and our participants. And I think our Center for Working Families is really a good example of that. We focus on all the needs that a family has. We focus on financial literacy, workforce and development, employment, adult education, income supports, basic needs, programs like that. And we really try to build skills, to educate the families that we're working with and build stability.
It kind of is like an everything old is new again when it comes to raising the child and helping them graduate, because in the past all the families worked together, and now you all are those families that are reaching out there and dealing with them.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a new, improved way of helping our families, with education being paramount in our communities and the need for good education in our communities. We have had to come up with creative and new ways of helping our families to become self-sufficient. So working with our area schools, working with other providers, and having that collaborative mentality to help our families, we've been able to empower them more to get to the place of self-sufficiency.
And some of those new creative ideas that work, Jim, obviously you all are implementing that at your school.
Absolutely, and the core of all of those ideas is the collaboration between the service providers in the communities, like the community centers, the parents and the students and the families. And that's the core that I think is the gist of all of this, is that everyone is on the same page and we have the same goals.
And the community itself, how can we help? I'm guessing there's a lot of people that didn't even know. It's been around for 85 years, but this is the first time they went, Hawthorne?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think we need people to advocate on our behalfs and really kind of understand what we're doing. I think the most powerful thing we're doing is we're helping our families become self-sufficient, like Regina was talking about. And I just think that's such a powerful message. And I think that the more people understand what we're doing, I think the better we can help our families and our clients.
And more needed as well, because those families are getting younger and younger.
Yes, and resources aren't becoming more plentiful. So families are increasing, they're becoming younger, which puts up a whole nother barrier when it comes to education and other needs. And then on top of that, the more families that we have to serve. And then we have a new group of let's say families in need, a new group of folks that are maybe dealing with the crisis of the financial situation in the last 2 or 3 years, that we're getting a new kind of family that is in some ways needing more help because they're new to poverty poverty, or they're new to being in need. And so you're having to spend a lot more time educating them on the process of becoming self-sufficient, utilizing the skills and the organizations and the collaborations that are out there.
And in a way that starts early with the kids when they walk in the door there at the high school too, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and the core of a community school is, which is what George Washington is, and the other schools on the near west side, is the idea that you use the school as the hub, and so you don't just think in terms of the student and the student's needs, but that of the family and the community. And so yes, you start with the students and you work outward.
Well, we talk about to be a champion, an American Graduate Champion, it takes the whole team, and you guys are all a part of it. Thank you for joining us. And thank you all for coming today here. We need you at home to get involved as well. Call the toll-free number and go to these websites to find out more. Become an American Graduate Champion and make a difference. Stay with us.
Thorntown is a town in a rural community. The Thorntown Preschool program is designed to help children with their literacy skills and get them ready for kindergarten. We're finding a lot of them are not arriving with some of those necessary skills. For example, we have several that come to school not really maybe even know the difference between a letter and a number. And so that's where we start. We start talking about what's a letter and what's a number, and then we gradually get to the point where they're starting to recognize their names. Before long, they're recognizing their friends' names. And then you start to see this interest in putting letters together and making words, interest in books. Well, what are we working on, girls? Everything we do is experimentation, exploration, manipulation.
Who's the doctor on duty today?
I'm a doctor.
Oh, I've got two doctors? Oh, this is good. This is a good deal. Okay, his name is Tiger. Tiger. What letter should I start that with? Tiger.
And just find ways to introduce literacy while they're doing those activities that have them so engaged and interested, because that's when they'll pick it up and that's when they'll learn.
Hello, I'm Shannon Cagle, and welcome back to American Graduate Day on WFYI. We're glad you're here with us. Joining me in studio are Ted Maple, President and CEO of Day Nursery Indianapolis, Connie Sherman, Executive Director of St. Mary's Child Center, and Mindy Bennett, Director of Programs at Child Care Answers. And I think one of the neat things that we see in the story that we just saw was that literacy learning happens in a lot of different ways, and it can happen in a lot of different environments, right, Ted?
Exactly. Great early childhood education can happen in a home, in a center, in a school. The key is that you have an adult that's knowledgeable enough about child development in order to take advantage of that time with that child to get to the learning objectives that he or she has.
And Connie, is that one of the challenges maybe, is finding adults who are qualified?
It is definitely one of the challenges that we face. But like Ted said, if you get that piece right, everything flows from there.
Mm-hmm. And Mindy, what sort of examples of this are you seeing in the work that your agency does?
The work that Child Care Answers does is we work with child care providers to help prepare them to work with children. We train them, we work in the programs with them hand in hand, we model, and then we also work with parents. We have parenting trainings, we help families locate quality child care, we talk them through and help them determine what would be best for their families.
Because it's not the same fit for everyone, right?
Absolutely not. We know that a center isn't right for every child. We know that a home program isn't right for every child. We really take time to get to know the family, talk to them, figure out what their needs are. We've got 1,400 child care providers on a database that we can help match them to so that we can really get a great fit for that child.
And Connie, when children are inspired by the teacher that suits them well, you really see the kids take off, don't you?
Yes, you do. And you can see so much the mutual respect of the child and the teacher. And one of the things that we know is that people learn from people who love them. And so that's a very important part of everything.
And I think in some ways that might be a surprise to parents, especially first-time parents who haven't experienced an early childhood regimen yet, is that there's a real relationship between a teacher and a student, right?
Absolutely. You know, for working parents, you might have a child that's in a program 8, 10, 12 hours in a given day. And just like in a first grade, third grade, or fifth grade classroom, the teacher of that preschool classroom or toddler classroom makes all the difference for that child.
As a parent, I can attest to that. Those are really important decisions that people make, and we hope that they can. We hope that they have the opportunity to experience these sorts of places, and that's one of the things that all of you are working on, is making sure that those good fits are available for people. Is it tough, Mindy, to match people up, or is it doable?
Well, you know, Paths to Quality is a great tool for families to utilize. Paths to Quality is the state quality rating and improvement system, and it covers the entire state of Indiana. And it rates child care programs based upon their quality level, with level 1 meaning that the child care program has demonstrated that they're meeting basic health and safety standards. Level 2, they have begun to set their environment up for learning to occur. On level 3, they're actually implementing a curriculum based on what the Department of Education says young children need to be learning. And then on level 4, they are also nationally accredited. So that's really a great tool for families to use as far as quality goes with early childhood programs.
So Connie, it's also important that parents are doing their research as well.
Absolutely, and there's quite a difference between the different levels of care that's provided. And always you want to look at the highest quality program possible for your child
that you can get. And Ted, you and I have talked about before, this is a really important way to start a kid on a great educational path.
Absolutely. What we know is that 80% of a child's brain is developed in those first 3 years. And a parent has a responsibility and a tough decision to make when they're choosing a place for their child. Look for a high quality child care program, a level 3 or 4 Paths to Quality. Look for a place where the adults are interacting in a rich and engaging way with young children, that the facility is safe and the environment is stimulating, and you'll find the right start for your child.
Well, thank you all for joining us today. We need you at home to get involved. You can make a difference. Call the toll-free number and go to these websites to find out more. Become an American Graduate Champion and make a difference. Please stay with us.
WFYI is working hard to make the city of Indianapolis the best it can be by continuing our commitment to education. I'm Lloyd Wright, President and CEO of WFYI, joined by Indianapolis Mayor Greg Ballard, as we get ready for this year's American Graduate Day, Saturday, September 28th, beginning at noon on WFYI 1 and featuring 13 hours of programming on local and national issues.
As Mayor of Indianapolis, I'd like to thank WFYI for helping children and parents keep graduating high school a #1 goal in students' lives. The programs you watch on WFYI during American Graduate Day will show you how you can become an American Graduate Champion.
So my name is Chip Edgington. I'm with OSP Group. I'm Executive Vice President of Operations. I've been with the company for 14 years, here located on Southeastern Avenue.
We are having an event for the Early Readers Club, and it's early child development. We work with United Way, and we love it. It's fantastic. The kids have a great time, and this is a circus-themed event today. So, got a little petting zoo, got a reading room, got a fun game room, and have some lunch for them. It's gonna be a great day.
So this is our annual carnival, exclusively for preschoolers in the surrounding area. So Little Dove Daycare, Daystar, St. Mary's. We invite a number of preschoolers. I think we have somewhere between 150 and 200 preschoolers here today. And basically we shut down our facilities as part of a 2-month fundraiser. We shut down our facilities for the morning, and we invite in all the local preschools, mostly inner city preschools. And we spend the morning dressed in full costume, as you can see. And we have a series of events for the children, everything from reading tents, where we really weave reading into the entire morning, and to our fundraiser. It's all about early childhood development. So we read to the children, we have crafts, we have a petting zoo, we have a dancing room, we have music rooms, and then we have lunch. And then usually at the end of the day, as today, they'll have little bags they'll go back with, and we'll have 3 or 4 books in each bag and some other little prizes for them.
Yeah, you see in the different rooms we have different themes. The circus room is our reading room, where we get a chance to read to the children. You go into the Super Y room, where the Super Y character is telling a story through our puppet show. You go to the craft and game room, that's a Sesame Street theme. Kids can obviously connect to that. And then you just see a lot of characters like Super Mario or Batman that the kids can connect to. So when they walk in, you see their faces lighten up because they can connect to those characters that they see on TV every week.
See you later. They've been responding very well. A lot of high fives, a lot of smiles. I've been doing a little juggling here.
The one thing that I keep hearing already is the puppet show. As we had a lot of laughter, everybody really liked the dragon in the puppet show. So got to give kudos to the dragon, I guess. Between the puppet show and the bubble room dancing, the kids are just excited beyond belief. So lots of hugs, lots of high fives. So you can see we're really making their day this year. I think it's most important just to give back. You know, we are really rooted here in the near southeast side. And so we really feel like we have to give back to the local community. And this is the perfect way to do it. Our team has really embraced this, this concept about 6 years running. You really have found out that early childhood literacy is where it's all about. By the time they get into kindergarten, first grade, and second grade, it's starting to get too late. So this is where we can really make a change in the local communities, really focusing on preschool children and helping them to develop into local citizens that will really take this to the next level.
If you look at this initiative, it's again through that strong partnership with United Way, and then strong support from our senior leadership that we have the privilege and the honor to work with these children. It's our opportunity to give back to them. We work in this neighborhood, we live in this neighborhood. Many of our team members spent hours over the last few days decorating the rooms, building the train track through the main hallway, putting up the circus tents, building the cage that you see the monkey in. The team here is just awesome. They're passionate about this. Obviously, we've embraced this as an outreach for our community, and it's just been a pleasure working with this outreach. Unfortunately, many of these kids don't have the opportunities that some of us had growing up. They don't get the lap time where the parents are able to read to them. And by bringing these kids in and spending time reading with them here on site, and then also our weekly teams that go out and read at these local daycares, we're hopefully giving back to those kids, teaching them some reading skills and teaching them some socialization skills, and helping them know that there are other resources out in the community. Part of the success of this is our partnerships with community leaders like United Way, Little Dove Daycare, WFYI and their leadership. And the success of this is obviously important and would not be there without their support as well.
WFYI provided iPads, and so that's a new activity for the kids, which is great. We really appreciate our partnership with them. And we have a petting zoo this year, and so that's something new we haven't had in the past. Or we have little miniature ponies and goats, etc. And the kids seem to be having a really great time with that. It's our 5th or 6th one, and we started out the very first year not really sure what we were doing. And I think we had 30 preschoolers, and somehow we've spiraled up between 150 and 200 this year. Yeah. This is a great example of where we, some of the newer recruits we brought in this year. They basically designed this whole room. They designed the clown mouth that you walk into. They designed the cage around the fireplace, and it's a great mixture, getting our long-term associates that have been here 30 and 40 years, our newer recruits that have been here 2 or 3 months. You put them together in the same pot and mix it up, and they come up with some great ideas for the community.
But just bottom line is making the child's day is, obviously we're in late summer, so this is the highlight for some children for the year, so we just want to ensure that that continues as we go forward.
This is so important because our future is based off of the kids. We need our literacy rates to increase drastically so we can compete with the rest of the world. We want the United States of America to remain #1 in regards to everything that you would want, and our children is going to be the future.
So we have to get them going. We want to increase the test scores and just allow them to benefit from reading at a higher level. I would say focus on your community. Focus on the community and keep the kids in mind, because the kids, like we said before, are our future. And we want to definitely do as much as we can to help and benefit them, to move them along the way.
So we've had a chance to hear a little bit from Kathy, but let's now talk with our panel about how we can better understand who these students are. So Jackie, let's begin with you if we can. We know from the research that urban schools have the highest numbers of chronically absent students, especially students in poverty, but we see children in all communities, small and large, missing school. How many students really are missing school each year?
Well, the study that we initiated a couple years ago through the Center of Evaluation and Education Policy showed us that when they looked at 7 years of data, looked at a cohort class of kindergartners and sixth graders, and looked at them for 7 years, they found that there were huge links to as early as kindergarten, students who were missing school chronically. That showed up in terms of lower math and reading scores by third grade. And then at sixth grade, their scores were, many of them was 70% lower, 70 points rather. So looking at that longitudinal study was hugely helpful for us, because before that time we really did not know the prevalence of our young people that were missing school chronically. In 2010, there were 55,000 students who had missed 10 days or 10% of their school, which is 18 days in Indiana or more. So about 55,000 per year is what we're looking at. However, if you add the students who are suspended, that's where our rates get much higher. And so we can be lulled a little bit by thinking that we have a 5%, well, 55,000 students is a lot of young people. So that number in and of itself is staggering. But if you add, in 2010, there were 81,000 students who were suspended for 5 days or more, for a total of about 416,000 school days missed totally. So if you add in those young people who are suspended, then your numbers can be as high as 10% of our young people missing school. So, we found out that through that study that in Indiana, as in other states, that's a significant issue for us.
Carol, talk about, if you would for a minute, can you help us understand a little more about that suspension and the expulsion rate? Help us understand some of the issues around that.
Yes, very much so, and thank you for having me on the program. I really appreciated what Jackie Garvey, through the partnership, has done, and what Kathy with the Department of Education, what they've been doing recently. But when Jackie brought out the data of 2010, it was really eye-opening. And I've been involved in initiatives to keep children in school, particularly rather than being pushed out through suspensions for some time. But when the data became evident that when we're looking at days out of school, the suspension days in Indiana are not counted in those days. So it does not show up. There are some states where that is not the case. When they talk about days of students' absence, the suspension dates are counted as well. And we're not talking about punishing the student by having it against the student, but it doesn't show up for the school. So that's a very significant issue, as Jackie brought up. But wider than that, if we look at who are the children who are most vulnerable, so these are the children who are more than likely to be our children who do not graduate and are not college and career ready, and also those young people that end up in the prison system. And our data shows that they're more likely to be children of color. So there it becomes an equity issue, a civil rights issue. Now, there'll be those people that will say, well, if they're misbehaved, of course they should be out of school. But what we know from the data is that starting with No Child Left Behind, there was a dramatic change in how students were disciplined. Prior to that time, and of course prior to Columbine and the other disasters that affected safety of schools, children were disciplined in the school for minor misbehaviors. But what we have found out from the data now, and this is national data, is that children now, since the 70s, are suspended for behaviors that have to do with subjective behaviors, more so, and these are for children of color. So the suspensions are disproportionate. They're for subjective behaviors that should be dealt with resources in the school, rather than what people might think that these suspensions are for violence. That is not the case. The majority are for minor misbehaviors.
Libraries are very important in my life, and wherever I go to a school, they just kind of know now to make sure that I visit the library, and we have many areas in Indiana that are so rural that we have kids who don't have access to public libraries. So it's important to get the word out about literacy. When I was talking about those 263 organizations and covering 70 of the counties, a few weeks back I had a National Guard soldier walk into my office in uniform and say to me, Glenda, we've got some soldiers that were helping out some students in 3rd grade in Fort Wayne in the classroom with their reading. And we heard about your Hoosier Family of Readers and thought we might be able to take that statewide. And I said, oh, do I have a meeting for you? And I took him that night to the literacy meeting, and he pledged to cover the counties that we hadn't covered already. He said he had 250 soldiers with boots on the ground. So we're getting ready to launch that really right before Veterans Day, November 4. It's going to be called Books and Boots. And so you'll probably hear a little bit about that. But we just are getting partners all over the place that want to work with kids, want to make sure that we're reading, you know, just have a hand in that. And so, yeah, I'm excited about the literacy piece that we got going on.
That sounds great. I want to talk a little bit with you on this subject about how your approach to literacy and thinking about reading is a little different than the way the state has thought about it in recent times. And notably, let's talk about the 3rd grade reading test. So this is a fairly new idea in Indiana that we instituted a test at 3rd grade. We ask children to pass it. If they don't, we ask them to stay in 3rd grade for extra reading help at least. They can advance to 4th grade for other subject matter. You sort of have a different vision for how you think that test should work. Could you tell us a little bit about how you'd like to do that?
I sure can.
Yeah.
Actually, the 3rd grade reading test came out in April of 2012, and everybody needs to understand that's why I got in the race to be superintendent. When that test came out, and it was going to be the premise in Indiana that we can teach reading through an assessment rather than having good instructional data to inform that decision. That was kind of the line in the sand for me. In fact, the whole assessment issue was a major impact on me. And so I want, right now in the state of Indiana, if you don't mind, I'll talk about all of our assessments because they're all the same.
Sure.
In the state of Indiana, we have assessments that are pass-fail, all of them. And so the I-STEP test, however, is one big long test. It has a bottom of grade 3 and a ceiling of grade 8. And if we gave it that way to our 5th graders, we would know that we have 8th grade mathematicians in 5th grade, or 3rd grade mathematicians in 5th grade. And we would have more information about where students are performing. But we don't give it that way. In 5th grade, students take the 5th grade portion of the I-STEP big test. And so it has a 5th grade bottom and a 5th grade ceiling, and that is all we know about our students. It also does not disaggregate any reading information out. So literally, the state of Indiana, the only reading information that we have is the pass-fail grade 3 test. I want to see, we need to have literacy data. I think it's embarrassing to the state of Indiana that we don't have reading information on our students, the key indicator of success in our coursework. And to really get a handle on that and make sure that kids are readers. And so I want to have, instead of a pass-fail assessment, I want to have a growth assessment so that we know where students are performing. Assessments have really, methodology of that have improved greatly since we instituted ISTEP. And there are just all types of assessments out there that are easy to give, don't take a lot of time, so we know where kids are reading and we can move them to where they need to go. To make a point even more, a 5th grade teacher, worth her grain of salt, knowing her subject matter, knowing her curriculum, knowing her students, really could tell you who's not going to pass that ISTEP test before we ever give it. We spend $25 million every year giving a pass-fail test that I know our educators could already tell you who's not going to perform. But the information we don't have at our fingertips is where they are performing so that we can differentiate our instruction. I'm a special ed teacher. I care deeply about making sure we're meeting individual needs of students. And so to me, that's the type of data that I've always needed, always made sure that I had. Even at Crooked Creek, we were giving what I called growth assessments, and we were doing them on our own. But if the state of Indiana gave the growth assessment, then the data could follow the child.
Well, a common misconception among the general population is that young children really don't think math, or if they do think, it's just simple counting and memorization. Can your child count up to 10 or 20? Can you tell us a little bit more about what children really can do and know in early childhood math?
Absolutely. Before I talk about other topics in mathematics, let's just take counting for an example. Okay. A lot of people say rote counting, you know, that's all you do in early childhood, you know, is rote counting. But think about it, even verbal counting, even just knowing the number names, which is only a tiny piece of what counting's all about, involves more than just rote memorization. If I asked everybody here what number comes after 1,758, you'd all know that it's 1,759. Yeah. But you didn't memorize that. You know the structure of the number system. You know the system, the pattern that underlies it. So even verbal counting has more mathematics in it than we sometimes give it credit for. But then, this is just the beginning of counting. Kids have to learn to keep one-to-one correspondence between the number words that they say, the counting words that they enunciate, and the objects they're counting. That's a difficult task and an important mathematical idea. And then it goes far beyond that. They have to understand cardinality, or how manyness, that counting is there for a purpose. It tells us how many objects there are in a set, or how many inches there are in the length of an object, or something like that. And then there's questions of problem solving. If you need to compare two groups, you can use counting to do it, but you have to know how to use counting to do it. Beginning arithmetic is based on counting notions for most children. So it spans from the very first years of life into the primary grades. The learning trajectory for counting is that broad and that wide, and the ideas behind it that deep. So when people say it's just counting in early childhood, I question whether they really know all that's involved in counting. But mathematics is much more than counting. It involves geometry, it involves spatial thinking, it involves patterns, sorting, classifying, ordering, all that. And at its heart, which you mentioned before, is mathematical reasoning. Thinking mathematically goes far beyond the memorization or something of a few facts. And what we want is for kids to see that the world is mathematical, and to see the world through those mathematical eyes enriches their lives in countless ways. So let's take one more example. Let's take shape, okay? We often don't do a very good job with teaching shape in early childhood.
I memorize a circle or a square, right?
And
a rectangle?
A rectangle and one more.
Oh,
a triangle. And then you're done.
And then I'm done. I've got those shapes and I'm good.
And it's often usually presented like this. You know, this is a square. It's held like this. So the kids say it's a square. Very little else is done to elaborate it. We don't even talk about the fact that you do this and kids immediately say, now it's a diamond, without recognizing, of course, that the shape is still a square regardless of its orientation. Research shows that not only that, but teachers often, when they do introduce any additional ideas, sometimes make mistakes because they haven't had very good mathematical experiences themselves, especially in geometry. For instance, one common thing for teachers to say is, now every time you cut a square, you get 2 rectangles. Now, you can get 2 rectangles, but of course, as we think about it just for a second, if you cut it a different way, you can get 2 triangles out of it. You can also cut it and get trapezoids and all kinds of things, but let's just take triangles as an instance, because if you do cut it into 2 triangles, another thing teachers will sometimes say is, and when you put 2 triangles together, you always get a square. You can get a square with these 2 triangles, but you know, if I think about it a little bit, and kids will think about it if you give them the challenge, you can also get a larger triangle. And more than that, if I'm really clever, I can get a parallelogram. So that there's so much richer geometric ideas that kids can handle. And when you give them those opportunities, they can surprise us with what they know. In a couple visuals I'd like to show you, illustrate some of the things that kids can do geometrically that kind of can surprise us sometimes. Let's take a look. In this visual, what we see is Corey is putting 4 triangles together, these wooden triangles, to fill this puzzle, to make squares. Up at the upper right, I've pictured for you how those 4 triangles together make a square, and then he plops that into a puzzle. He puts 4 more triangles together in a square, plops that into a puzzle. Now, the other boy sees that square structure, but he makes the wrong square. He puts only 2 triangles together. It doesn't fit in the puzzle. So the boys have this elaborate conversation about what you have to do to make it fit in the puzzle and finally finish the whole puzzle, which is great. When a teacher comes over, who's snapping these pictures actually, and asks, how many triangles did you use? Corey counts carefully, 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 24. Good, the teacher says, but 24 what? She wants to be specific. 24 triangles, Corey answers. And then she asks, how many squares do you have? And this is where we find it particularly interesting, because what Corey does is curl up 4 fingers, puts the 4 fingers on each of the 4 triangles for each square and counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what Corey has done is not only good counting and shape naming and composition of shape into other shapes, he's also created a unit of units with his friend. What do I mean by that? He can count the triangles as separate items, but he can also see them as a unit together and count that unit as 6 units of those triangles. He also can see the triangles as individual shapes, but simultaneously see them as composing a larger shape, the square. When you can go back and forth between those two, you are primed when these 4-year-olds get to, say, 2nd grade, to understand place value, because when you do multi-digit addition subtraction, you have to understand that 10 ones can be 1 10 or 10 ones, and you have to be able to switch back and forth between those 2 views. These kids are building a foundation for that kind of thinking as young as 3 and 4 years of age.
Wow.